Persistence of user session. Functions to persist and get logged in user. In this new episode, we will begin to improve the login process of our application. The first thing we will do is that a user logged in previously, when logging into the application, does not have to perform the login again. For this, we will start modifying our login logic. The first thing we have to do is create a function that stores our login data in the local persistence of our device. For this, we will go to the file models.ms and add a function named setLoggedUser. It will not have a return and it will have a parameter of user type that we will call user. Void setLoggedUser, open parenthesis, user, close parenthesis. Then, with the local persistence broker service and its save function, we will save the name and the score attributes of the user who logged in. The name attribute will be saved with the logged user name key, and the score attribute with the logged user score key. Broker.localPersistence.save, open parenthesis, logged user name, comma, user.name, close parenthesis. Broker.localPersistence.save, open parenthesis, logged user score, comma, user.score, close parenthesis. Finally, we will save the password with the local keychain broker service. With this service, you have access to functions related to the encryption and storage of strings locally. From local keychain, we will use the save function to save. To this function, we have to pass as the first parameter the key with which we will store our value and, as a second parameter, the value that we wish to persist in an encrypted way. So, we will use the logged user password key to obtain the value of the password later. Broker.localKeychain.save, open parenthesis, logged user password, comma, user.password, close parenthesis. Now, we will have to modify the return of our function perform login so that the logged user's instance returns to us. Then, in the same file, we will change its return bool by user, and in all the return statements, we will have to change the value false for null and the value true for the variable user. We can already use the setLoggedUser function in our login rule. So we will go to the login.ms file and create a variable of type user, named user, and we will assign the return of the call to the function perform login. User equals perform login, open parenthesis, loginexp.username, comma, loginexp.password, close parenthesis. Then, in the condition of the function, we will evaluate if the variable user is different from null. If, open parenthesis, user, exclamation mark, equals null, close parenthesis. Finally, we will add the call to the function when starting the if structure. As a parameter, we will pass the variable user. Accounts.setLoggedUser, open parenthesis, user, close parenthesis. We need to modify the loginexp variable by the user variable in the following sentence. loginexp.username to user.name. Now, we need to get through the local persistence the logged in user. For this, we will create a new function in the models.ms file, which we will implement in the onInit clause of our application. This function will have the name getLocalPersistedUser, will have a return of user type, and will not need any parameter. User getLocalPersistedUser, open parenthesis, close parenthesis. The first thing we will do is to declare a variable of user type named user. User. Then, an if control structure that in its condition validates that a user is persisted. For this, we will use the hasKey function of local persistence, which asks if there is a persisted value with the key that we pass as a parameter, in this case, logged username. If, open parenthesis, broker.localPersistence.hasKey, open parenthesis, logged username, close parenthesis, close parenthesis. Within this structure, we invoke the default constructor of user and we will assign it to the variable user. Then, we will use the get function of local persistence and we will obtain the values stored in the setLoggedUser function. So we will use the keys logged username and logged user score. The return of these functions will be assigned to the name and score attributes of the user variable. User equals user, open parenthesis, close parenthesis. User.name equals broker.localpersistence.get, open parenthesis, logged user name, close parenthesis. User.score equals broker.localpersistence.get, open parenthesis, logged user score, close parenthesis. Finally, we need to obtain the password through local keychain. In this case, we also have the function get, and we have to pass as a parameter the key with which we save it, in this case, logged user password. We will assign this return in the password attribute of the user variable. User.password equals broker.localkeychain.get, open parenthesis, logged user password, close parenthesis. At the end of our function, under the if structure, we will have to enter the return statement and return the user variable. Return user. We have finished our function. Now, we will have to apply it to be executed when we start our application. For this, we will go to the file main.ms. In this file, we will have to create another global variable, in this case of user type and named logged user. User, logged user. Then, in the onInit clause, we will first delete the broker.ui.push open parenthesis, close parenthesis statement. Then, under the assignment to the treasure scores variable, we invoke the getLocalPersistedUser function and assign the return to the global variable loggedUser. Following, we will create an if structure that validates that the loggedUser variable is different from null, since our getLocalPersistedUser function returns null if no user has persisted. If, open parenthesis, loggedUser, exclamation mark, equals null, close parenthesis. Within the structure, we will carry out the push to the welcome experience. So we will copy the code of the login rule and enter it in the if structure. Welcome, welcome data source, equals welcome, open parenthesis, close parenthesis. Welcome data source dot greetings equals welcome plus loginexp.username plus to the treasure hunt app. Broker.ui.push open parenthesis welcome, comma, welcome data source, close parenthesis. And we will replace loginexp.username with loggedUser.name. Finally, we continue the if structure with the else structure, in which we will perform the push to the login experience, since there is no user logged in previously. Broker.ui.push open parenthesis login, close parenthesis. Finally, we have to add a sentence to our setLoggedUser function. As the first sentence of this function, we will have to assign the user that we passed by parameter to the global variable loggedUser. LoggedUser equals user. We do this to have access to user data from the entire application. We can now save and test that when we are logged in, our app starts directly in the welcome layout. In the next video, we will start our logout logic of the app.